Here we go. Friday video coming at you. It's real quick. This is just kind of continuing on with cognition and thinking. They had some language stuff at the end, but I'm going to postpone that for another video. Yeah, so yesterday we talked a lot about heuristics and algorithms, divergent thinking, convergent thinking, Occam's razor. You know, basically eliminate everything you know that won't work, and whatever is left over, you know, the simplest solution is probably the best. Okay, so today we're going to start with the Yerkes-Dodson theory. So if you go back to, and I think this is unit 8 in your notes, but if you go back to that, you know, the Yerkes-Dodson theory is this this theory on like maximal or you know, the most efficient amount of arousal that your body has, that your brain has, right? So relationship between arousal and performance, in which, like, if you are not aroused enough, you know, that 5K time, that soccer match, that volleyball game, your performance isn't going to be very good, right? If you are too aroused, if you are too excited, if there's too much adrenaline flowing, then that test you take, you know, you're not going to be you're gonna be too jittery, right? You're gonna be too stimulated. You're not gonna be able to focus. If you are too aroused, you will come out on that 5K race and you will go full sprint and you'll fatigue too quickly, right? Or you go way too hard to start the soccer game and you're fatigued, you know, 15 minutes in. So, you know, if arousal becomes excessive, our performance will diminish, right? And so if you think about a graph, and you guys think about graphs a lot better than I do, but you know, at some point there's going to be a diminishing return, right? So as arousal goes up, performance will go up, right? There's going to be a positive correlation there. But as arousal continues going up, at some point your performance is going to dwindle, right? You know, too much excitement, too much stimulation, right? Too much adrenaline is going to cause performance to decrease. So the functional fixedness, that cognitive bias that eliminates a person to use an object only in the way you traditionally know that. So you are fixated on an object, on what you know that object's ability is or what it should be used for. You fail to see other possible solutions. You fail to see other ways you could use a hammer, for example. So again, when you have this functional fixedness, it kind of just hinders your ability. It limits your ability to be creative, right? To find other solutions, to think outside the box, right? So, and they had a few different examples. So if I told you you needed to hammer in a nail, you know, onto a piece of wood, right? And you go to the toolbox and there's not a hammer in the toolbox. Well, you see a wrench, you see screwdrivers, tape measures, whatever it might be, but you come back and there's not a hammer. I'm not going to be able to nail it in. Well, that's functional fixedness, right? You didn't realize that you could take the biggest wrench and try to, you know, drive that nail in with the biggest wrench, right? Or you could take the bottom of a screwdriver case, and if it's heavy enough, you could try to hammer that in. If you need to put a screw in a wall, right? Easy. Use a screwdriver, right? I mean, that's pretty simple. Use a screwdriver. That's functional fitness. You know exactly what that screwdriver is for. Use a screwdriver, right? But what if a screwdriver is not there, right? So what if something else exists, but because you are fixated on, I can only use a screwdriver, you know, you fail to also realize that you could maybe use a key, that you could maybe use part of a pocket knife, right? And this functional fitness, you know, kind of eliminates other possible solutions from being found. Okay, so a few different kinds of bias, cognitive bias, right? So a lot like that functional fitness. A few different types of bias we need to look at, right? Anchoring bias, okay, and I'm going to read his definition. Anchoring bias, tendency to jump to conclusions by thinking of improbable or scary possibilities rather than reasonable outcomes, right? So if you have anchoring bias, you would be afraid to fly because when planes crash, you know, hundreds of people die, right? So you would rather drive 18 hours than take a 2-hour flight, right? even though there are far more car crashes than there are plane crashes, right? And I know you can get into deciphering data and stuff like that, but you know, a good example would be you are afraid of flying, even though you are more likely to get in a bad car accident than a bad plane accident. Okay, availability bias, tendency to rely on readily available information and find a solution that is easy. Okay, so readily easy access information in your head that allows you to just make a quick decision, an easy decision, right? So if you lose your keys, right, you will immediately go to a place you found your keys at previously, right? Even though maybe you hadn't been in that room, or that wasn't a place you had frequently, you know, been in your house, or you search the counter or whatever, even though you wore a jacket with pockets and you didn't go to that jacket first, you know, whatever it might be. Availability by a tendency to rely on readily available information to find a solution that is easy. Again, you lose your keys, check, you know, a spot where you previously found them, and then you if they're not there, you struggle to find where they might be, right? You kind of panic. But that's just because you're operating on whatever information is easy to access. Confirmation bias, the tendency to look for information that confirms your existing belief. Okay, so confirmation, you are seeking confirmation that you are right, right? Tendency to look for information that confirms your existing belief, right? So again, there'd be something pretty simple, would be the news channel you watch, right? If it, you are more likely to align your news with your political beliefs, for example, right? And we won't get into politics, but the people you follow on Twitter, right? Those people that you share political views with, right? So biased political news reports, you use those because you agree with them, because they support what you believe. Radio hosts, sports, right? Michael Jordan versus LeBron. If you think Jordan was the best, then you will consistently, listen to sport commentators or analysts or radio hosts who also have that same belief, right? Boom, my belief is confirmed. Jordan is the best. Hindsight bias, tendency to see past events as predictable. I knew it all along, right? So, you're watching a basketball game, and a coach makes a call to switch defenses or to run this play or that play or to sub this kid in, and something happens, right? And you are able to sit back and say, yep, I knew that was going to happen. I knew they were going to score when he switched to his zone, right? Or I knew the other team was going to get a rebound as soon as we took Ali Frazee out, right? You didn't say it before, right? You use hindsight bias. It happened, and then you can say, yep, I knew it all along, right? Let's see, going on. Sometimes you see this in class, and I'm not saying kids are liars, but you ask a question to the class, right? What was the date of Pearl Harbor? And nobody answers. And, you make eye contact. Nobody wants to volunteer and answer. And then you say, yep, it was December 7th, 1941. And then you have some kid like, I knew that's what it was. Hindsight bias, right? Something previously happened and you can look back and say, yep, I knew that was going to happen. Overconfidence bias, okay? So tendency to place too much faith in your own opinion, even if there is no legit reason to think you are right. So overconfident, again, a gambler has lost, several times. A gambler has lost 90% of the hands they play or the dice they roll, but they continue playing because they think they have the ability to win. They think, they will eventually, score big or get rich, right? They have overconfidence in their ability. Coaches can have that, playing a player too often, having confidence that I know they can turn the corner, I know they can make a difference, and maybe it doesn't happen, right? Overconfidence bias. Self-serving bias, tendency to make decisions based on what allows people to feel good about themselves. Okay, so you are making decisions, what you watch, what you wear, the people you hang out with, the people you talk to. You are making decisions based on what is going to make you feel good. Okay. Another self-serving bias, another good example would be, anything that goes right, let's just say sports, okay? Or let's say at your work, or let's say some kind of team you're involved in, right? When things go right, you take credit for it, right? You were hey, I'm glad to be a part of that team. I really came up big in that moment. And whether it's true or not, you are self-serving, right? You are taking credit for that because it makes you feel good. When something goes wrong, I knew we shouldn't have played that kid, or I knew the coach shouldn't have given the ball to them, or I knew I should have been the one to answer that question, right? You're shifting blame somewhere else, okay? Because again, not taking fault is self-serving. And the last one we're going to talk about is belief, perseverance, emotion-based reasoning. Okay, so continuing to basically cling to your own thoughts, your own opinions, your own answers, even though they have been proven wrong, or even though there's credible contradictory, opinions out there, or facts out there, right? So continuing to think that LeBron is better, even though there's a lot of information out there that says he's not. Continuing to believe the route you take to work is the best route, even though 9 out of 10 people say otherwise, right? There's all kinds. This is kind of a simple one. There's all kinds of examples. Again, you could get into politics, and belief perseverance would be really, really probably easy to identify. Again, you could look at self-serving bias and belief perseverance, and we've talked about this before, but a girl or a guy who's being cheated on by their boyfriend, and somebody else, tells them, hey, you're getting cheated on. And somebody else says, hey, you're getting cheated on. And hey, I'm pretty sure you're getting cheated on. And you kind of refuse to believe that, right? You don't want to be emotionally wrecked. You don't want to feel bad. You don't want to go through all that traumatic experience of a breakup, or come to a realization that your boyfriend or girlfriend wanted to be with someone else. And so you have this self-serving bias, and you have this belief perseverance that is basically a defense mechanism that kind of protects your ego, right? And protects this self-esteem, that you have developed. And that's actually going to kind of take us into the next section when we're going to talk about social and physical and emotional development of children. So, all right, quick one. I probably will send something out for you guys. We will Skype on Wednesday next week. I think we meet Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So we'll Skype on Wednesday. So I'll send something out here in the next couple of days. A couple of things we want to discuss. A couple, you guys seem to prefer the non-FRQ homework. So I'll send something kind of out like you guys did last time, and I'll continue to add stuff into the lecture. But have a good weekend, guys.